Welcome back to the Batty Girls Book Club podcast channel. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we are two chatty baddies who love to talk about books, even though we've been gone for quite some time.
But we're here in the flesh together.
We still love it. We've had a lot going on. So for all of you that are still here, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so today we have a really exciting episode. We are talking about romance.
We have a wonderful author spotlight with Dr. Melissa Dymond, who wrote a suspenseful medical romance called Paging Dr. Hart. So hang out with us this episode to hear more.
Before we have Melissa join us, I would love it if we can talk about what we're currently reading. It's been a while. Don't know where we left you last. I think we were both tandem reading. At that
we
point,
still
are. No, I have finished a tandem read.
Oh, sorry,
Although,
yeah.
if you were listening to the last episode, I did drop out of the tandem read, but I did finish the actual two books just separately. And that's okay, because we got to the same ending, and that's all that matters. And I started reading Kingdom of Ash, and I read like a couple chapters, and then I got really scared because everyone scared me, and they were like, buckle up, good luck, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. And I was like, I am not emotionally prepared for this, and part of me wants to finish this book because I want to finish the series.
Sure.
But the other part of me doesn't want to finish the series because then it's over.
Yeah.
And there's no more.
I'm taking time off.
I
just need a break.
PTO. I'm taking SJ.
I'm taking
PTO.
unpaid leave.
Yeah, unpaid leave.
It's a undetermined amount of time until I get back into the tandem read, but it will happen before 2024 is over.
But besides that, I was really on a romance kick, maybe like last month. I feel like I haven't read. It's June. Haven't read much. There's just a lot happening this month, and it's okay. You go through those lulls. I feel like I'm still like really far into my reading goal, so I feel like I've just like hit the mark that I expected to hit at the end of the year, and now I'm just like, no pressure.
Yeah.
So I kind of put the brakes on a little bit. I've been in my Emily Henry era. I have been in my Abby Jimenez era, and all things romance, and it's perfect timing for the summer. You read Funny Story, right?
I read Funny Story by Emily Henry.
Me too.
I listened audiobook, which is not normal for me. I am typically Kindle or paperback or hardcover. I did audiobook.
Yeah.
Loved.
On Spotify for free.
Loved. And
crazy.
apparently the narrator is well known for like covering Emily Henry's books really well. So I agree. She did a good job. I loved it. I feel like I've been saying this to everyone. It's very like New Girl vibes.
Yeah,
Nick and Jess vibes.
yeah.
I felt at least. And I don't know if I just keep like replaying the narrative that I've been seeing other people share, but I do feel that way. I feel like the character is very Nick, where like he's the guy who you're like, ooh, is this the kind of guy I'd want to be with?
Boyfriend material?
Yes.
Yeah. I see that.
And then you see the redeeming qualities, and then you see a girl like Jess who's like, oh, she's kind of just had her life turned a little upside down a little bit. And it was just like a really good, relatable read. I really, really loved it. I haven't read too many Emily Henrys, but this was one that just, it hit.
This was like my trying to redeem my previous experience with Emily Henry and reading Book Lovers. I didn't love it. I did not love it. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that I don't like her writing. Or maybe I thought like maybe she just wasn't for me, but I was wrong. I read Happy Place, and it was just summer vibes, friends. So it was just a great like summer romance, coming of age, friendship, great relationships. I think I give it a 5. And I'm reading The People We Meet on Vacation, which I actually bought in like Christmas time, the winter time, and I feel like it's a perfect time to read it now. I kind of like started reading a chapter in December and it just didn't fit the vibe. I'm a mood reader and it's fitting the vibe now, so I'm really liking it so far. I'm like, okay, I might be an Emily Henry convert after all. Yeah. Abby Jimenez also has been like, I feel like on the up and up, held very similarly to Emily Henry in the romance world. And I really love her writing, too. I think we talked about the last episode. I started the Part of Your World series. I started on book number 2 instead of 1 because they're standalones. And then I did read Just for the Summer, book 3. I really enjoyed that. And maybe I'll go back and read the first one.
I want to bring us back to the tandem read very quickly because I actually just saw on TikTok there is now a powerless and powerful tandem read.
No.
Obviously, if you've read, you don't need to go back.
Yeah.
But for people who, if you haven't read Powerless yet and you want to do, because for those of you who don't know, Powerful is a novella of one of the main characters in Powerless. So they take place at the same time frame. You just learn more about a character. So I feel like that'd be a fun reading experience.
That.
Yeah.
And different because the books are very different sizes, like physically, but also like the amount of pages.
Yeah.
Powerful is very, very small, so I feel like it'd be pretty easy to like work it in.
Yeah.
I love it. Or just make your own tandem reads. Really live your life. I love that.
That's it. I'm unhinged. All I'm doing right now with my life is watching Love Island and hardly reading anything.
We're in our lover era. Bridgerton. I'm binging Bridgerton. It's very binge-worthy. I know there's a lot of mixed reviews on this season. Well, I like it so far.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I would. I think I just like that era as well. I like the way the show is done. I like the music.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy it.
There is, I think summer puts me in a TV mood as opposed to reading.
Yeah, that's funny.
I've heard a lot, funny story, I've heard a lot about Maxton Hall. Is that the name of it? Amazon Prime. We can talk about that.
Okay, we should.
But I've heard a lot of people say it's like a very, very good bingeable show.
I normally, like, summer to me is beach reads. I used to go to the beach and I would read little beachy romance reads that I really enjoyed. I was like Eldon Hildebrand, like anything like that, eat it up. Sarah Dessen, girly, growing up, absolutely. I feel like Ellen Hildebrand is the adult version of Sarah Dessen. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you should know. Okay. Well, with that, we are going to introduce our guest for this episode. Woo! Hello and welcome, Dr. Melissa Dymond, to the show. So we're so excited to have you here today. You have written an awesome book, Paging Dr. Hart. We loved it. We want to talk about it. We want our viewers to know about it.
Yeah. So, Dr. Melissa, we would love it if you could tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you got into writing, because you have a strong background in the medical field, and what your inspiration was to start, and specifically for this book.
Okay, yeah. So, my name is Melissa Dymond, and I am from California originally. I went to medical school in the Midwest, though, and did a lot of my medical training in the Midwest. So I actually lived all over the United States as part of like medical school. We often will go to different hospitals and do training. So I've I've lived in Miami, I've lived in Las Vegas, I've lived everywhere. So, and then my mom and grandmother both are writers. And so my mom, my entire life growing up, had like a writers group going on downstairs in our house that I would like walk in and out and see all these people writing, and she's still writing. She's 76 now, and she's still like right now she's writing like a K-drama romance.
And please drop. We need the links for the bio. Are you kidding me?
I know that's her work in progress right now. So like I was surrounded by that, but I was always kind of like, especially now this is like back in the day where it's very traditional publishing, and like she and her fellow writers, they struggled a lot and they weren't as successful. And I looked at that, I was like, wow, that looks kind of like hard. I'll go to medical school instead. That'll be easier. So
I'll give myself another challenge.
Yeah, I was like, no, that writing thing was hard. I'll do medical school. So I became a doctor, and then, but I always had like these kind of stories in the back of my head, like these characters that were talking and they just wouldn't get quiet. And so eventually I was like, all right, let's try and put some on paper. And I was at the beginning, I literally was like, I'm just going to write this down and no one needs to know about it. Like, I didn't even tell my husband. I was like, after the kids would go to bed, I would like start writing and clicking away on my laptop. And then I was like, by the end, all of a sudden I got a book, and I was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I could do something with this.
That's incredible. And I'm so glad that you didn't keep it to yourself, because it needed to be out there for sure.
I definitely thought about it for a long time. Like, let's just keep this under wraps.
So other than the people in your life that were writing, so you didn't have any other background in writing? It really, like, that amazes me.
That is
and I was saying this to Danielle earlier, like, your book reads like a very well-established author. Truly.
Thank you. That's such a good compliment. Thank you. I know, and that was one of the things is like I was so based in like science and logic, and like I have a BS in biopsychology. You know, I have like all of my stuff was very like sciencey and math, and so I didn't have that background, but that's been so satisfying. Like accessing that creative part of my brain that was kind of dormant for so long. That has like been just the best feeling, honestly.
No, that's really challenging too. And I would love to address like, how did you work as a doctor and then go home and like, you're spending time writing as a doctor as well. Like you're writing notes, you're writing a plan of care, and then you're going home and you're writing these incredible stories. How did you kind of balance that?
that was the thing, is like, it was at the beginning, my writing, I felt like, was really like stiff and very like kind of robotic. And I was thinking, yes, because it was so hard for me to break out. And then eventually I started going to like my own writers group, because one of my fellow doctors is also a writer. And so she was like, I have some people come over. And like, so now I'm in my own writers group, which is really like full circle, because I grew up with that. And like, in the beginning, they were like, you're doing good. They were so sweet, because I had no idea what I was doing. They were like, you're doing good, but it's a little bit stiff. But I think that's because I had all the medical writing behind me, and I was used to reading journal articles and all that stuff. And so I had to really kind of let that go, and then just like write naturally, try and write more naturally.
So much sense.
That was hard.
Like, in the medical field, you're literally taught to write exactly what happened and not put any fluff or your own opinions or use like I language. So that's really tough. I feel like being able to teach yourself a different style of writing and do it so well, super impressive.
Oh, thank you. I know, it was awkward at first a little, but then it started coming.
And as someone who's not in the medical field at all, who's actually on the complete other side of any industry, I'm corporate. I work in human resources.
Okay.
I did still find it very interesting to read the little bits and pieces, like when she's doing her presentation in the beginning. Like, I have no medical background, and so it didn't come across to me as like, what is going on? Like, what is she talking about? Like, it was very interesting, and it's a nod to your background. So, like, it gives you a very unique twist, and I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, and I've lived all of that. Like, I have given the, we call them like grand rounds in the hospital, like the morning educational lecture, noon educational lecture. I've like given those, and I've gone to the medical conferences in Disney World, and I've taught people I've trained, other residents, and so like it's all from experience.
And I love how having two different people in two different fields and somebody who relates so deeply to the medical side of it and could visualize everything so like easily, and having somebody who's not been into that hospital in that world, both have such positive experiences reading it and like understanding the story and following it. I feel like says a lot. Like, it's not just a story for people who work in the medical field. It's a story for anybody who enjoys romance, and especially with suspense too.
Yeah, that's just the background and kind of like some of the framework of the story, but it's not the heart of the story.
And this isn't your first book. Can you tell us a little bit about your other book?
Yeah, so my first book, my debut novel, is called Holiday Star, and that is actually so both my books have their main female character are doctors who are in training. So that one she's an ER resident, and she falls in love with the movie star. So it's a celebrity romance. Yes, it's a celebrity romance. It's like a holiday romance because it starts out with one Christmas and it ends at the next Christmas. So I released it last November, and then it like hit the Christmas season. And I was so lucky. It went off and it kind of took off and did really well. So I was super fortunate with that.
That's amazing, and I can't wait to read that. And you're coming out with the audio, or it's out already, the audio?
It's out. Yep, it just came out like last week. Yeah, I did. Since the book did well, audiobook companies came and then they offered to buy the audio rights. So I had two different companies kind of like vying for the audio rights, which was really like something I never expected. Yeah, never expected. It's like, I just don't have the budget for an audiobook, and then but now it's an audiobook, which is so cool.
Oh, that's amazing. And I am an audiobook girl, like commuting to work, there and back, and just doing things around my house or walking my dog. I am always listening to an audiobook. Like weekly, I usually listen to like one or two a week. So I'm really excited to get my hands on the audio.
Yeah, and it was so neat. Part of the contract negotiations, I was like, well, can I help like pick out the narrator? Like, and I don't even know that much about it, but I still wanted to like just have a say. And they were super nice, and they were like, give us a list of like people that you are kind of like a wish list. And I gave them a wish list, and they got my top choice. So that was so cool.
So excited.
We have to listen to
I'm so excited. So stay tuned for our review of that once we listen.
You'll have to let me know what you think.
We will. Would you say that that's a recommended, like, wait till the holidays to listen to, or really read it whenever?
Really, whenever. So, and it was funny because when I wrote it, I was thinking like, oh, this will be like a holiday romance, but it starts at Christmas and it goes to the next Christmas. So there's a large chunk that's actually like not Christmas. And then the reviews started coming in, and so many of the reviews were like, this could be read any time of the year.
Yay,
and I was like, I guess it could be read any time of the year.
That's awesome. Because I feel like it makes it more accessible, because I'm such a mood reader. And I was saying to Steph earlier, like when I'm reading a summer book, I like reading it in the summer, and I love it to fit the vibe. So I feel like that's awesome that it can kind of take you throughout the whole year.
Yeah. I hadn't really expected that. And then so many reviews are like, this really could be any time of the year. I was like, oh, that is true. Because I wanted the timeline to be long enough that the characters had time to really grow and develop and like their relationship. And so I didn't want it to be like total insta love, which would have to happen if it was just, crammed into Christmas.
Well, we're so excited for that. That sounds like a perfect book for us. And also the audiobook, just like cherry on top. Yeah. We're so excited.
Similar to what you were just sharing about Holiday Star, would you mind giving to anyone listening like a little overview on Paging Dr. Hart? And then I think it's categorized as a contemporary romance, correct? Like that's...
Yeah, I was trying to describe it, so I call it like a medical romance with suspense.
With suspense,
Yes, that's how I've been describing it. So, Paging Dr. Hart, so that just came out this week. That's my new book. And it is a dual timeline. So, what it is in the present day, you have this main character. Her name's Dr. Tiffany Hart. And she's a doctor in training. She's a radiologist, which is what I am. And she's going through her like present day, and a new guy comes into her department, and they kind of don't hit it off very well in the beginning. She's not a fan of his. No. Because it's enemies to lovers, and so, but over time they have to spend a lot of time together because she has to train him, and then they have to go, like, travel for work, and so we've got forced proximity and, like, one bed, and so she starts to kind of, like, they start to fall for each other, but in the meantime, you're also getting flashbacks to her growing up from age 5 to 18, and you're seeing, like, but she's kind of cold, she's kind of closed off, she, like, deliberately pushes people away, and as you see her grow up, you see the things that happened to her that made her that way. So I really want you to understand, like, deeply understand her as a character, and so I thought the only way to really do that is to watch her grow up and kind of see the struggles and things that she goes through, and then you're like, oh, I get why she's this way. So she's kind of known as like an ice queen in the hospital. And so that's like her character growth is like finally kind of she's falling in love with this guy, and he's really working with her patiently to kind of break down the walls and seeing if she can kind of move past all of that and become someone that's able to love and to receive and give love. So
I also feel like if you are someone who are in a reading rut like you and I were, and you're like, if you flip-flop between romance and thrillers or suspense novels, this book kind of wrapped it all up into one, right? You're like, oh, I don't know if I want to read a book like this or that. It's like, well, you could just pick this book and get both, the best of both worlds. And I have to give a nod. You put character art in your book. That is my favorite.
I'm obsessed with character art. Like, I can't stop buying it. I need to, like, rein myself in.
Yeah, we love it. We loved it.
Like, the next book, I've already got, like, a bunch of character art.
We love that. And I think what you were saying, too, about why you put in the dual timeline, I love a dual timeline, and I really think it did exactly what you wanted it to do. I felt like I really knew Tiffany. Like, I felt like I knew her as a character. I knew her as a doctor. I could understand why she said the things she said and the decisions that she made. And I feel like you did such a great job of taking them into different spaces. Like, we really jumped into totally different, like, landscapes. Like, we had Disney World in there, and we had Las Vegas. You know, there was just so many different, like, world building that you did very seamlessly, and it wasn't overwhelming. It was very easy to picture, and I just felt like we were following this timeline of this love story, and it was great.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Okay, while we're talking about your book and all of the wonderful things in it, we have to talk about how you have a spicy version and a sweet version of this same book. I've never seen that before. I think that was amazing. I'd love to tell our listeners more about that.
Okay, yeah. So I started writing, like, I personally actually read spicy books, but I have a really nice friend group, and they're so supportive, and, like, there were quite a few of them who are not comfortable with that, and they like to read sweet books, and I was just kind of thinking of them, and I was thinking, like, man, I want to write something they would like, but I also want to write something I would like. Yes. And so that's kind of where the idea came from. I was like, well, why can't I have both? Because, I mean, the major plot points are the same through both books.
Yes.
And naively, in the beginning, I just thought, well, I'll just cut out the sex scenes. That would be so easy. And no, it was like almost like a total rewrite, because then I started looking at it, and, like, in a spicy version, when the characters are looking at each other, there's a lot of looking of, like, with lust or desire. Like, you thought I'm picturing you naked kind of, thought. And, like, the sweet readers don't want that. So So I really did have to go and like reframe so that in the sweet, clean version, it's more they're looking at each other with like longing or affection. And then, so really, like, it was a lot more rewriting than I originally thought. But I love how it turned out. And I just love having all readers be included. And the really neat thing that I didn't even realize when I was doing it, that kind of started to emerge when Holiday Star was published, is all of these people were writing me, and they're like, we're having book clubs where we can all read the same book, but some are reading sweet and some are reading spicy, or they were doing buddy reads where like I had like a mom and a daughter where the mom read sweet and the daughter read spicy, and they literally DM'd me, were like, this is the first book we've ever been able to read together. We're having these conversations about it, I know, and it was just like, I was so touched. I like didn't even anticipate that. Honestly, it was really cool. Like such a cool outcome.
I love that. And it's so inclusive. And I've never seen that before. And I hope that other people can see this and be like, ooh, that might be a good idea, because there's sometimes where, like, in that case, I'm not going to recommend, okay, my mom loves spicy, so I would recommend it to my mom.
My mom doesn't.
Steph's mom, she doesn't want to read the spicy books you're reading. So it'd be great because, like you said, the plot points are the same. You're not missing anything, and you can still talk about the whole story.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really, I mean, so similar. And the main drama or like, motivational goals of the characters are the same in each book. Yes. It's just that the tone of the book and then obviously the spicy scenes. So,
I'm very curious because, I read the spicy one.
Me too. Okay. I wanted to read the sweet, but I was like, I can't miss out on the spicy.
Yes. But I would be curious to give the sweet read.
Yeah. I would definitely read the sweet version too.
Yeah. I have actually a lot of readers like that read both, which I thought, I also didn't anticipate. Like I've already, with this one, I've already had several say like, oh, I just downloaded both. And I was like, sweet. Especially because like Kindle Unlimited readers, they're like, I'm going to download both.
You
and I was like,
for
it. That's awesome.
I love that. It's so thoughtful. I really appreciate that. And I think a lot of people will too. Absolutely. Yeah. Before we kind of wrap up, is there anything that we've missed about your books or you?
I guess the only other thing is, so I donate 10% of my personal proceeds to different like disease processes. And so right now I'm focusing on cancer. So in Holiday Star, there's a subplot where the main character's father has passed away from colon cancer. And so 10% of my proceeds from that book will be donated to fund colon cancer research. And in this story, there's a lung cancer subplot, and so I'll be donating to lung cancer research. As a doctor, obviously I see a lot of that in my work, and then unfortunately I do have some like really close family members who are struggling with cancer right now, so I just really wanted to give back, and I wanted to like be active in fighting, having people struggle through that and be able to participate in fighting against it. So that's, I guess, the thing that too. It's just nice to talk about.
Yeah, I think that's something you really you don't see often, and I love that idea. I love that concept, and I think it ties it all together very nicely, like with the storyline. And just, if anyone would ever be apprehensive about starting a book, and okay, I can read this book and enjoy it, and also know that I'm contributing to donating or funding some cancer research. Like, you have no reason to not read this book, right?
Yeah. I just think it's like nice to be able to take something and then make it even better by like making it give back.
That's really special. And that whole storyline was very like heartfelt and very emotional. So I think you did a really great job of writing that and getting the feels out of a lot of people in that storyline for sure.
Thanks. Yeah.
So, Melissa, can you tell our listeners where they can find you on social media and where they can find your books and follow along on your journey?
Yeah, so social media, I'm on all social media basically, but I'm most active on Instagram, where it's Melissa Dymond Author, and my last name is spelled funny, so it's Dymond, so Melissa Dymond with a Y, Author. But I'm on TikTok and Facebook and all the other good stuff too. And then my books are available on Amazon. I do have them from Kindle Unlimited, so you can read for free. And then Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all the major retailers like that also have them. I have 2 covers, actually. Yes. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Yes.
So there's there's a blue cartoon cover. So that is only through Amazon. That's Amazon. and then there's like a photo cover of like a lady with a green dress and a stethoscope.
Yes.
That would be the one that you get at like Barnes and Noble.
I love that. That's so cool. You have so many options for your readers, and I love that. You really thought about like, okay, people might like different things.
Yeah. I mean, some people love the cartoon cover. Some people love the photo cover. So I was like, why can't I just offer them both? Like, why?
Or have them both. Buy both of them.
Donate to cancer.
Yeah, come on. 2 times.
Let's do it all.
And are you currently working on any new books?
Oh, so I'm writing Holiday Wedding, which is actually the
spoiler!
Yeah, so I'm like actually really excited about it. So I'm on my second draft now on that, and so I'm trying to finish that up. And then I actually have like the next book in the Paging Dr. Hart world. I already have partially written, so that's a prequel.
Yes, we're ready. A perfect time for me to listen to Holiday Star. I'm so excited.
So I'm working on all that, but right now it's hard. It's a little hard to balance sometimes the promoting and the writing. Yeah. So like promoting mode, but I really need to get back to and mommy working,
having a life, a family,
all the ings. The ings are so busy.
Yeah, adulting. Yep.
We hear you, obviously, right?
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. Well, we're so excited. Thank you so much for letting us highlight all of your amazing work today. We can't wait to listen to Holiday Star, and we can't wait to get the sequels to that and Paging Dr. Hart. We're so excited. And thank you for all that you're doing in your medical community and with donating this money to research too. I think that's just so amazing for everybody. We're so excited to keep bringing more author spotlights, so stay tuned for more.
If you like what we have to say and you want to hear more, please leave us a review and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube at Batty Girls Book Club. And don't forget,
stay batty!